I gave my body to the wrong man, but my heart was already his. I never meant to fall in love with him. In fact, I was trying very hard not to. He was everything I told myself to avoid. Too intense, too complicated, too dangerous in all the ways that mattered. But the heart doesn't care about warnings. And mine? It was already his before I ever touched him. The first time we met, I was with someone else. Not just dating someone. I was in a serious relationship. Living together. Sharing bills. Talking about children. To the world, I had it all figured out. A stable man, a good job, a quiet life. Then he walked into it like a spark in a dry forest. He wasn't loud. He wasn't even trying. That's what made it worse. He just was. He sat across from me at a dinner, asked me what book I was reading, and for the first time in months, I felt awake. We didn't flirt, not really. We just looked at each other a little too long, smiled like we already knew something secret. I tried to be good. I tried to ignore it. For weeks, I avoided events where I knew he'd be. I stopped replying to group chats. I turned down invitations, even from my closest friends. My boyfriend asked if something was wrong. I lied and said I was just tired from work. That somehow, he kept finding me. At the coffee shop near my office. At the bookstore I always said no one else knew about. At a gallery opening where I caught him looking at a painting and then at me like we were both unfinished art. And then came the night I stopped resisting. It was raining. I had just left a work event early. My boyfriend was out of town. I saw him standing under a street lamp, smoking, waiting for his ride. And I walked toward him like I didn't have a choice. He didn't ask why I was alone. He didn't ask if I was allowed to talk to him. He just said, "You look like you need to breathe." I did. I hadn't realized I was holding my breath for weeks. We ended up in a small bar. It was quiet, warm, with dim lights and old jazz playing through speakers that crackled slightly. We talked, not about our lives, not about work or love or any of the things that felt too sharp. We talked about poetry and childhood and how silence can be louder and words when two people want something they shouldn't. He didn't kiss me that night, but when he touched my hand lightly as we reached for the same glass, my body betrayed me. I felt everything. I wanted everything. And I knew, without even needing proof, that this was no harmless fantasy. I left that bar with shaking fingers and guilt like thunder in my chest. Loyal, caring, good. But when he touched me, I didn't feel fire. I felt duty. And one night I stopped pretending I could live without the flames. I went to him. I told myself I was just going to talk, to close the door properly, to end the tension before it became betrayal. He opened the door, wearing a soft black sweater and the kind of eyes that strip you bare without asking for permission. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. I stepped inside, and before I could speak, he kissed me. It was slow, deliberate, like he'd been waiting to memorize the shape of my mouth. And I let him. God, I let him. What happened that night was more than sex. It was surrender. I gave him my body, yes, but not because I was lonely. Not because I was reckless. Because my body already knew him. Because my soul had chosen before my conscience could catch up. He made me feel seen, touched in ways that had nothing to do with skin, and afterward, we just lay there. No explanations, no apologies. Just the sound of breathing and the silence of a choice we had already made long ago. But when I got home, reality hit like cold water. My boyfriend had left a note on the table. Miss you already. Made your favorite tea. I stared at it for a long time, still smelling like someone else, still aching in places only he had reached. And that's when I realized something awful. I had given my body to the wrong man. But my heart, it had never been where I left it. I wish I could say that night was the end of it, that I came home, confessed everything, packed my bags, and started a new life, one where I was honest, whole, brave. But real life is rarely so clean. And love can be 1,000 shades of wrong, even when it feels more real than anything you've ever known. For weeks after that night, I lived in 2 realities. In one, I was the good girlfriend. I smiled. I cooked dinner. I nodded through conversations. I pretended to laugh at jokes that once made my heart flutter. In the other, I was haunted by the way his fingers had traced my collarbone, by the way he said my name like it was a secret only he had permission to speak, by the truth I didn't want to face, that I had crossed a line I could never uncross. I tried to cut him off, deleted messages, blocked his number, ignored every pull in my chest when I passed the cafe where we once sat too close. But he lived under my skin now, and nothing I did could scrub him out. Until one day, he sent a letter, a real one. No name, no return address, just my name on the envelope, written in handwriting I knew better than my own. Inside, 4 lines. I know I shouldn't want you, but I still do. Not just your body, but the part of you you keep hiding, even from yourself. I cried in my car for 20 minutes before I could breathe again. That letter didn't ask for anything. It didn't demand a response. It just saw me. And that, somehow, was worse than begging. Around that time, my boyfriend proposed. We were at the lake. He knelt down in the sand, the sun setting behind him, a ring in his hand, eyes full of all the things I should have felt. I said yes, because it felt easier than saying no, because I thought maybe if I made it official, the ache inside me would finally surrender. Spoiler, it didn't. Around that time, he found out 2 weeks later, not from me, from a friend, someone who saw us, me and the man I swore I was done with, in a moment too intimate to be explained away. My fiancé didn't scream. He didn't throw things. He just looked at me and asked one question. Did you love him? And I, still wearing the ring he'd given me, said the only honest thing I've said in months. Yes. He left, quietly, with dignity I no longer deserved. I didn't go running into the other man's arms. I couldn't. I needed to sit in the wreckage of what I'd done. I needed to learn how to breathe again without hiding behind someone else's love. For the first time in years, I was truly alone. But something strange happened in that silence. I started to hear myself, the part of me that had been buried under guilt, performance, obligation. And once I found her, I couldn't go back. Unpack. I started to hear myself, the part of me that had been buried under guilt, performance, obligation. And once I found her, I couldn't go back. Months passed. Then one day, I saw him again. Not planned, not expected. I was sitting outside a bookstore, holding a coffee I hadn't finished, staring at the sky like it held answers. I'm not here to pick up where we left off, he said. I nodded. Good, because I'm not the same woman you met. He smiled softly. I know. I liked her, but I think I might like this version more. We sat in silence, not needing to fill it, and after a while he reached out, not for my hand, but for the book in my lap. He flipped it open, read the first line aloud, and looked at me like he had all the time in the world. And maybe this time, we did. _epilogue. I gave my body to the wrong man, but my heart, it had always belonged to someone who saw it, messy, complicated, unfiltered. Sometimes, love doesn't arrive at the perfect time. Sometimes it shows up when you're already spoken for, when you're broken, when you're dishonest. But real love, it waits. Not with desperation, but with understanding. Not with pressure, but with patience. And if you're lucky, one day you find your way back to it. Not because you need saving, but because you finally chose yourself first. And the right person loves that version of you most of all.